Today we're going to focus on the Madison Square Garden album. Here's the American version, which came out in June 1972, not long after the concert. And I'm going to be showing you three different Japanese copies today, which were all released in 1972. And later on I'm going to be playing three different copies of the album, just to let you hear what the difference in sound is. So the first one we're going to look at is the original Japanese pressing from August 1972. So they gave themselves a couple of months to prepare for releasing this album, unlike in America where it was rush released in June. And they've given it a different back cover to the American one. And this is also in a gatefold sleeve. And I'll put a picture of that on the screen so you can see what that looks like on the inside. So the first one came in this red, white and blue obi. Now the big text in the middle of the obi that you can see there, it says Elvis in New York. So that was the title of the album in Japanese. And there's also a little bit of Japanese text up here near the top, and that tells you that there was a poster enclosed. Now some copies came with a really big poster, and others came with a 24 by 12 inch poster. And I've got one of those, so I'll show you one of the smaller ones. So this one came out in, as I say, August of 1972, and it did very well. It got to number 4 in the Japanese LP chart. So what they did at the end of 1972, when Elvis on Tour was released, they brought the album out again. This time you can see the obi has a different colour. And what they also did, which is very clever, was they changed the text here in the middle of the obi. I guess you could say they changed the Japanese title, and it actually reads now, it reads Elvis on Tour, and just on the left side in much smaller letters it says Elvis in New York, the original title. Now on the inside cover it still reads Elvis in New York in Japanese, and it still reads Elvis in New York on the labels. So they only changed it here to Elvis on Tour. So it was very clever marketing. So they repackaged, or they redesigned the obi to cash in on the Elvis on Tour documentary. And the album actually got into the top 10 all over again in December of 1972, reaching number 6 the second time around. The cover is identical, except it's no longer laminated. The first pressing was a laminated sleeve. So I'll show you the poster that came with the first one. That's this one here. This is the smaller version, 24 by 12. The bigger version, I can't remember how big it is. It's at least twice as big anyway. And some copies of the one with the yellow obi came with this poster. But all copies of the first pressing came with either the big poster or the small poster. Now on the same day the second pressing was released, they also released this quadradisc version, 4-channel stereo version. This also has a different back cover, and this one also has a gatefold cover, but it's a much simpler design. There's no bound-in booklet and no illustrations, no photographs. And this version also had fewer tracks on it. I'm guessing that must be because of the technical limitations of the quadradisc technology. Maybe they couldn't fit as much music on one side. So as you know, it's a pretty long album. So it doesn't have the band introductions, it doesn't have Funny How Time Slips Away, and it doesn't have You've Lost That Loving Feeling. Alright, so let's move on to listen to what some of these sound like. So what we're going to be doing is listening to a little bit of one track from the American pressing, the second Japanese version, and also a little bit from this one here. This is a Music on Vinyl 2 LP version, which I just got in last week. And maybe if any of you have this album, you might be able to tell me, but if yours is the same. But it's got 2 inner sleeves, the same design, but one of them has very smooth paper, the other one has very rough paper. So if yours is the same, please let me know. Now, let's go and listen to these different albums. So I'll put pictures on the screen so you can know what you're listening to. Now listen very carefully to the 4-channel song when that comes up, because I think it's going to surprise you.
Thank you. What do you mean?
Oh!
Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleep, worrying about the way things might have been. A big wheel to keep on turning, I'd rather keep on burning. No, I'm rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Oh! Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleep, worrying about the way things might have been. A big wheel to keep on turning, I'd rather keep on burning. No, I'm rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Oh! Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleep, worrying about the way things might have been. A big wheel to keep on turning, I'd rather keep on burning. No, I'm rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. I cleaned a lot of plays down in Memphis, I pumped a lot of grain down in New Orleans. Thank you. What do you mean? Oh! If you come down to the river, I bet you're gonna find some people who live. You don't have to worry, cause you have no money. People on the river are happy to give. I said a big wheel to keep on turning, I'd rather keep on burning. So I'm rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Take it up. Rolling, rolling.
So what did you think? Were you a little bit surprised to hear Proud Mary on this album? So as you can probably tell, the first 2 verses are missing and it jumps straight in to the 3rd verse. I think the beginning of the song is the same, but you get less feedback at the beginning. So I think the feedback cuts out, and that's where they edit the song, and it comes in from verse 3. It was a bit of a surprise when I first heard that. So what did you think about the other 3 copies of the stereo pressing? Could you hear any differences, and did you have any preferences? If so, let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Take care.